and welcome to Hedgehog Hollow. Today I wanted to share with you my top 5 Misti tips. Now let's talk about the Misti for a second. So it's an absolutely fabulous tool. Now you will know that I used to love my Tim Holtz platform, but we can no longer get those here in the States, and I just love working with a stamp platform. I've tried out the We Are Memory Keepers option, I tried out the Stamparatus, and I've come back to my original Misti. Now I have a mini Misti and I have the original. I would like to get a memory Misti, but it is a big investment. So I'm hoping I find a sale on it over the holidays. But for now, we're going to stick with that original Misti, and I'm going to give you my top 5 tips and my favorite things that I like to use inside my Misti. So first of all, let's talk about magnets. So you get some magnets that come in it, and they do have a habit of cracking. So the first thing I'm going to say is you want to cover them in tape. Now this here is duct tape, pretty pink spotty duct tape that I've put over these. So if these were to crack on me, and when they crack, they can be really sharp. I did cut my fingers on some to start with, so hence I covered them in duct tape. It also means when I put them down, I have something to pick them up with. It makes it much easier. And the same on the bar magnet. Now I didn't cover my entire bar magnet. This is the official Misti one. It's got the My Sweet Petunia on this side. But I did put a little bit of pretty Tim Holtz washi tape on it. So again, rather than having to like get my nail underneath, which can be a little bit tricky, and it really does go down securely, I can just easily pick these up. So I can use any thickness of cardstock. This is watercolor cardstock, so it's probably about the thickest I'm going to use. This is going to hold it down nice and firmly, so it's not going to move around. I could put my stamp on here and I'm going to move it around. So my first top tip is, as soon as you get your Misti, or any stamp platform for that matter, cover your magnets in some tape. And I recommend using duct tape. And if you have a bar, I recommend putting some washi tape around it so you have this little tab on it. Now, the next thing is Misti corners. So there's 2 tips here with Misti corners. Now mine have snapped together. So the first thing I'm going to say is, if your magnets snap together, don't prise them apart, slide them apart. So there's another tip in there for you. But these corners are fantastic. So not only are they great for lining things up, but I like popping them here in this corner like this. So then I can pop my cardstock in here, and I may well pop a magnet on here as well, just to hold it in place. Or alternatively, I can pop my other one. You get 2 of these corners in here, and they're nice, strong right angle. So they're really going to hold your cardstock firmly in place. But the reason I like them is they hold it. You can see here I have a black gap between my Misti and, sorry, the edge of my Misti and the edge of my cardstock, which means I can stamp off the edge of the paper. So here, where I put my stamp on here, you can see that right here, my snowflake, this is a PinkFresh, I think, snowflake that I've chosen. I can stamp off the edge of my paper, and I still got it held in here nice and firmly. So I really like that. And the other thing is, of course, I can still do that stamping over and over, because all I would do is take out my piece of cardstock, and then I would put my next piece of cardstock in here. And again, it's going to stamp in the same place over and over again. And they work perfectly. I can still close my lid, so I can pop this wherever I want it to stamp off the page. I can lift down, pick up my stamp, and you can see it's not going to affect my stamping quality. They're the perfect depth to still be able to stamp inside your Misti. You don't have to take these away. It's nice and flush against that. So I'm just going straight across. If I lift this up, you can probably just see there's no extra level at all. It's just nice and flush across there. So that is tip number 2. So these are those wonderful right angles, and you've got 3 magnets in there, so they're going to hold really nice and straight. So if I hold it here, maybe that's a better way for you to see. You've got 3 strong magnets in each of those corners. So that's tip number 3. That's tip number 2 rather. Now tip number 3 are the things that I keep inside of my Misti. So this is the foam that comes with it. And then you have, when you buy your Misti, you get a little pad of paper. Now the first thing I did with my pad of paper was I laminated it, and then I just trimmed it down. So when I pop this in here, and then I pop this in here, and I start stamping, when I stamp on this piece here, I don't ruin a piece of paper, because I can then just take my tidy towel, which I'll bring in here. My ink gets on here. I just take my tidy towel, wipe it clean, because it's a laminated surface, and off I go. Now the other thing I sometimes put in here is one of the Teflon mats. So again, I've cut a Teflon mat down to fit perfectly inside of here. Now you could do the same with an easy clean mat, which is my plan to do over the holidays. I've bought a new one to cut down in here. This one's looking a little bit the worse for wear, but it's probably been in here about 2 years. So, I mean, that's worn pretty well. That also means that I can throw lots of mediums at it. I've sprayed in here. I occasionally apply a little bit of heat, which is not recommended by Misti, but I do kind of take that risk sometimes. I've put pens on it. I've inked on it. I've put archival ink down, all sorts of things. And this Teflon sheet, it's one of the Ranger Ink Sensual sheet. Again, just cut it with my guillotine and off I went. Now, the other thing I made for my Misti was this turnabout grid. So if you've seen the Concord and Ninth turnabout stamps, you'll know what this is all about. You put a cross on your stamp, and then you put a cross on a piece of paper, you line it up, and you just keep rotating your stamp. Now they recommend you make a template each time. Well, I decided again to laminate my template. So I made my 6x6 grid. It fits perfectly in my Misti. And I also cut just a small border all the way around to give myself a little bit of extra wiggle room. So there's just a tiny, tiny border. I think it's about 1/8 of an inch border from memory. I do have a download on the blog. I'll link that in that top right hand corner right now. You'll see something pop in. That's my link to all about turnabout stamps and how this template works. And I also have my arrows and things on there, but we'll make sure that's on there. You can see a little bit of residue from some temporary tape, but again, I can just take my tidy towel and I can just remove any marks that are on there really, really easily as well. So that's another option, and that's my tip number 3. So that's my next one on there for you. Now, tip number 4 is another part of the Misti corners, which is this right angle. So you can see it comes down here and it goes across here. Now I'm going to put back in my Teflon sheet so it's a little bit easier for you to see. But this tool is amazing. I don't just use it with stamps either. I recently used it with dies. If you check out the lawn fawn video, again, check out that top right hand corner. You'll see that things keep popping in. I used it with dies, but what it does is it lines up along these edges. So you can see it moves up and down along here like this. You can also move it along like this. And what it's going to allow us to do is line things up perfectly. Now, whether you're lining up an image, or maybe we want to line up a sentiment. So let me grab my stamp set here, and I'm going to grab a sentiment. So this one says deserve to celebrate. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to very gently, and it's very hard with my nails, so I like to use tweezers. I'm just going to gently pop my sentiment against my Misti L bracket, and I'm just going to bring this a little bit closer so you can see. So what I've done is I've just touched it up against that L bracket. Again, this is the perfect height that you do not have to remove it in order to pick up your stamp. So again, I'm just going to close my lid. I'm going to open it up. These are photopolymers, so sometimes it picks up your paper. But now my sentiment is going to be perfectly straight on my grid. And then when I stamp it out on my paper, again, I just put my paper back in the corner and I know my paper is going to be exactly where it was before. And of course I can use this any way I like. It also has a straight edge here. So if I didn't have room for this thick piece, so say I wanted my sentiment to be all the way over here, all I have to do is pop this piece on here. I butt this up against there. And again, I can make it nice and straight. So again, this is a really, really useful tool, whether it's for stamps, whether it's for dies. I use this all the time in my craft room for all sorts of things. So that is tip number 4. Now, tip number 5, if you watch Hedgehog Hollow videos, you're going to have heard this a lot. And already Greg is rolling his eyes at me because he's heard this tip so many times. He's like, oh my God, you're not getting those sticky grids out again, are you? And I said, oh yes, I am, because I love this. And they might not have seen this. So I found out about these. This is the Misti mouse mat. So this in its own, and I'm going to peel this off for a second. And then I'm going to show you the magic of this one. So this is the My Sweet Petunia mouse mat. So it has the foam back, which is the same thickness as the foam that came in your Misti. And then it has an acrylic surface. So it's a bit like laminating your top here. and you can buy this as an add-on to your Misti, and of course it fits in here perfectly. So I bought the mouse mat, and then I found out about these Sizzix sticky grids. Now these are currently sold out, but I did find a couple of places that had them in stock, and we'll make sure that we link up anywhere that does have them in stock. Also, I'm going to link up Ellen Hudson at scrapbook.com because they have an in-stock notification that you can add so that you can make sure you find out when these come back in stock, because these things are amazing. I have them on my Gemini plates. I have them on here. I've used them on my Tim Holtz mat. I've cut them down into smaller pieces because they hold my cardstock and my stencils in place when I'm doing things like that. I barely ever use masking tape anymore because I just use these. And why are these so magical, you're going to say? Alex, why do I need sticky grids? Well, so I'm going to pop my cardstock down and I'm going to press it down. Now, if I lift up my sticky grid, you see my cardstock doesn't go anywhere. So yes, you could use a magnet as well, and the magnet still works through the mouse mat, but I don't need a magnet. So all of a sudden, all those magnets that used to break on me, I don't need to worry about them anymore. So you can see it's stuck perfectly. And my mouse mat fits really nice and snug, so I know my cardstock's always going to be in that correct position. The other really nice thing that I found, so this is a brand new photopolymer. This is one of those this is a snowflake set from PinkFresh. So again, I'm going to just pop it down on my surface. I'm going to pick it up on my lid, and I'm going to pick it up. Now you saw when this was down over here, it picked up my paper and took it with it, which is normal with a brand new big photopolymer. It didn't do it with a sticky grid, and I think that is pretty amazing. So I love these sticky grids. You can also get them in different sizes. You can get them to go in your Sidekick, you can get them to go in your regular Big Shot, and I'm sure they'll also do them in big to go in like the Big Shot Plus and all that kind of stuff as well. So they are my top 5 Misti tips. So I hope you have maybe picked up a couple of tips to use in your Misti. Maybe you're going to grab that Misti. You can also use all of these tips in your Stamparatus. You can use them in your We Are. If you had a Stamp Perfect before they were discontinued, if you have a Tim Holtz platform, you can totally use those sticky grids in there. You can also use your magnet tips in there. The Misti corners also work in your Tim Holtz platform because I used to use them in there as well. All of these tips, the laminating, that works in there, and the turnabout laminate, that works in there, and the Easy Clean Mat, that works in there too. So all of these tips that I've shown you today work in all stamp platforms because I've tried them out to make sure. So do give us a thumbs up if you found some tips useful today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because if you haven't heard already, we are the official media partner for Creativation 2019. And we've already released our first vlog for Creativation, so you can check that out as well. Top right hand corner if we haven't run out of cards already. And we will be having lots more coverage before, during and after the show. We'll be on the show floor first, and we'll have lots of behind the scenes as well. So do join us for that. We're super excited, and check out all of the links in the video description below for everything I've shown you. Plus, if we have any money saving coupons, we'll have those as well. Plus, we send out a Friday newsletter with all of the latest Friday coupons, deals and steals, so you can sign up for that at thehedgehoghollow.com. We'll see you again very soon. Happy stamping. Bye.